So with this ball, I think everybody has done work with this, with me with this. I have this kind of full right now just because I was doing something else with it, but I would love it if everybody would kind of make their ball a little bit less full than that. And you can experiment just by taking the pin out of your ball. We're gonna do, some work putting it all around us to kind of stimulate a lot of the sensation around our ribs and our diaphragm and our lungs, so that we can kind of get into our breath a little bit more deeply today. So I think when there's a lot of stress around, there's a tendency to shallow up the breath and freeze the breath, and perhaps even have pretty severe breath holding. Some people can hold their breath unconsciously for a really long time and then all of a sudden can't understand why they're feeling short of breath. But whatever kind of healing process you're going through, or kind of taking care of yourself process that you're cultivating in your life, breath is a real must, in my opinion, to incorporate into this. And at the end of the practice, we're going to do an equal parts breathing, Samavriti, it's called, and Sama just means same. So equalizing the inhale and the exhale. And I just read a study this morning about the impact of this, and there's so much good that happens when we elongate the breath and have slow, steady breathing in equal parts. We increase our heart rate variability, which is a sign of good vagus nerve functioning and adaptability to stressful environments, or stressful mind states. Um, it also changes your brain waves to be in a much more relaxed state. And then, of course, your nervous system, your parasympathetic nervous system gets a boost so that you can kind of step out of that fight or flight and into the restful part of our nervous system. And tending to this is kind of a must. I think it's a must. It's like brushing your teeth. There's got to be something that you do every day to kind of tend to your breath and your nervous system, to help you just function well, physically, emotionally, mentally. So let's go ahead and find a comfortable seat. Okay, sit up straight and tall. And as you close your eyes, let's have a moment to start where we just start noticing our breathing. Okay, and as you do, let's have some gratitude as you take a big breath in and release a breath out. Let's just have some gratitude for the ease of breathing. Everyone knows the feeling, at least slightly, of what it's like to not be able to breathe well, whether it's, sometime when you were sick and coughing, or in a very, very tight, stuffy room and your breath was having a hard time, or any state emotionally that took your breath away a little bit. We all know at least a teeny bit of the sensation of challenged breath. So hopefully right now you're feeling calm and your breath is full and capable of really, really moving well. So notice this. Let's pay attention and have gratitude. And then take a moment to just check in. How are you physically? Did you sleep well last night? Do you have a lot of energy? Are you tired? Are you at all under the weather or not tip top in your physical health? Is there something you're noticing that needs some tending for healing? How has the wind been affecting you? How is your mind? Have you been able to have some balance around letting things infiltrate into you, and then also taking time for just retreating into the inner world? As you breathe, let's start noticing what the state very specifically of our nervous system is right now. So, are you heightened in any way in that fight or flight response? And remember, it can be more than just fight or flight, fight, flight, freeze, fake, fawn, all the ways that our nervous system tries to protect us from perceived threat. Have any of these been activated in you lately or right now? Take a moment to also notice your diaphragm. Pay attention to just, can you sense it in any way? Is it mobile? Is it free? Is it stuck? Is it tight? Do you have no sensation? Do you have any pain? Sometimes tightness in our diaphragm can show up as a feeling of like a stomach ache. Notice if you have any pain around your rib cage or collarbones or in your mid back. Let's just pay attention to all the places where breath resides. Travel upward a little bit and let's pay attention to the passages of breath. So maybe start at your nose and relax now. Let's try to shift some things. So let's notice and relax the bridge of your nose and your eyes. Melt your cheekbones. You can even put your fingers gently on your cheekbones to just give yourself cueing, like relax here, rest here. Let that surrender kind of melt around your skull. Any tension you have in the muscles around your head or your face, whatever you can do to surrender, including the base of the skull and the jaw and the root of your tongue inside your mouth. And as you start to soften all these structures of your face, let's see if we can go a little deeper now and notice the breath moving in through your nose, swirling around the chambers of your sinuses. Such an important aspect of breathing is letting the breath be bathed in the sinuses. Remember, this is where we filter the air, we take the particulates from the air out so that they don't get into our lungs. We bathe the breath in nitric oxide to help us have a bronchodilator when the breath gets down into our lungs. All right, so just sense the fullness of your breathing through your nose, into your sinuses, down your trachea, into your bronchi, into your bronchioles, all the way to your alveoli. Visualize these pathways. Notice, and even if you have trouble sensing deep in your lung tissue, visualize those alveolar sacs, like the little sacs of grapes, where there's all this surface area for chemical exchange, where oxygen reaches into our bloodstream. Our hungry cells waiting for this oxygen and ready to give back all the waste from our body, the carbon dioxide and everything else we no longer need. So let's dance into the symphony of that whole rhythm of breath, from the nose to the alveoli to the cells themselves that are receiving the oxygen, to the release of what's no longer needed from our cells, all the way to that feeling of just letting go on the out breath. Notice the beautiful combination of physicality, mentality, the psychophysical aspect of breathing. That it calms our emotional states, our mind states, as much as our uh, biological, physiological states. Try to exquisitely notice the subtlety of any sensation you have around your breath. Surrender everything you can so that you can breathe well. Haven't done anything yet with the pacing of our breath, and we will do that later. But for now, let's just take our hands to our heart and drop in, bow your head and connect these places, your third eye, your heart space, your hands, the centers of our thinking, our centers of our feeling and of our will and of our doing through our hands. See if you can place an intention into this triad. Relax your hands. All right, so on this windy day, we're going to do some wind work ourselves. So let's go ahead and warm up. So just have your halfway deflated ball close by. We won't need it just yet. Okay. All right, so come on to your back. And let's enjoy stretching out and lengthening. Reach your arms overhead and find a lot of reach in the body. Stretch the right side and stretch the left side and get to know your rib cage a little bit. Moving through your hips and your shoulders so you find those side bodies. Notice the space between your ribs and your hips. And then bring your knees into your chest and a little bit of rocking. Let your head rock too. So just kind of see if you can let the rocking relax you a little bit. Nothing about today's practice is going to be super strenuous. So try to give yourself permission to just focus on relaxing. Yes, we'll move our body a bit so that we feel good in our body, but we don't have to tense. We don't have to create, any momentum around strength or stamina today. Different kind of stamina of awareness, stamina of breathing. All right, so bring your right knee into your chest. Give it a good squeeze. Let's roll around in the ankles and start to feel, if you have any inflammation in the body, maybe in one spot, maybe generalized, sometimes just inviting movement everywhere and getting all that blood and lymph to move in your body can be such a gift to the healing potential that you have. Okay. All right, with that knee, keep it squeezed in. We're not going to do the other side just yet. Cross over and find a twist and hold on to your knee with your left hand so you're not going too deep in the twist. Just find a nice place. And then let's slide our arm around while we're here. So a little half snow angel of that right arm on the ground. And you can turn your head as your arm moves down toward your side. You can turn your head left. And as your arm slides up in that arc over your head, you can turn your head right. And just get to know your shoulder a moment here. Opening up a little bit across your pecs. And then come back. Draw that knee back in toward your chest. Bend your left knee and come into a half happy baby pose with this right leg and compress. Compress into the hip joint. All right, and then go ahead and put your right foot on your left knee and bring that left knee up. And you can instead take right thigh over left thigh and draw your knees together or knees toward your chest. So whatever kind of hip stretch feels better to your body right now. And then maybe some mobility, maybe some stillness. I like mobility in the beginning of a practice versus the steady long holds. I think it warms our tissues a little bit to have that friction and movement. But maybe you're different. Maybe you're like, oh, I just want to hold this. And that's great too. So try to always listen to what your body would like to have happen and follow that. All right, then release that. Spread out to a star, reaching your fingers and your toes. Roll your wrists and your ankles around. Maybe open and close your fists kind of rapidly. So you're just bringing some movement in blood and lymph into your arms as well. And then knees draw into your chest. Give a little snug hug here. And then as you put your head down, keep your left knee in, right leg comes long on the ground, and take some time to move around in your ankles here, wiggling your toes and rolling around in your feet. Breathing deeply. Enjoy all the little movements that you can find. All right, now taking hold of that left knee, let's cross it a bit over to the right. I like to have my right elbow down on the ground. It's like a little perch to put my hand on my knee, but maybe that's too deep for you, or maybe you want to go deeper. Just kind of find what kind of support you can have to hold that left knee in the twist. Open up your breath. And then if you'd like to do that movement of the arm and the head, we'll slide our hand down next to our hip as we turn our head right, and slide the arm up in an arc overhead as we turn our head left. Graze the ground with your hands. So think of doing a snow angel in the snow and what that would feel like in this one arm. All right, come back to center. Bring that left knee into your chest again. This time put your left foot on your right knee or left thigh over your right thigh. And let's draw in for a hip stretch. And again, maybe movement, maybe stillness. If you want to try movement, you can do a little rocking left to right, or you can do some circling. Just kind of sense into what wants to move and what doesn't. Big breath here. All right, and then let's reach our body out, stretching long. Wiggle your fingers and your toes again, and then knees into your chest, head comes up. Let's roll to our side. All right, as you come onto all fours, enjoy your cat-cows. Okay, so we're arching through our spine and rounding through our spine and taking our time to feel the movement of our vertebrae. Remember, part of our breathing movement of our rib cage has a lot to do with how our thoracic spine is able to move. So pay attention to what's available. And are your shoulder blades able to move? Can you slide them toward each other as you arch your back? Can you slide them away from each other as you round your spine? Doesn't it feel good just simply to move your vertebrae and breathe? Sometimes your yoga practice could literally just be some cat-cows. All right, and then start to move your body around. So you can move in different planes. You don't have to just stick with flexion and extension. Maybe your tail wants to wag or your ribs want to move. Maybe your head wants to move. And stretch back towards child's pose. Walk the hands out in front of you and reach through your arms. Open up through your back body. Let your head relax down. Full breath in here, full breath away. And then we'll find a side body stretch. So walk the hands over to the right and lengthen your left sit bone away from your hands. See all the space you can get into that side of your body. And of course, you'll feel a lot in the rib cage, but see what you can sense under the armpit, in the side waist. Come back to center and inch the arms over to the other side. A big breath in, big breath out. And come back to center. Let's come back up onto all fours. And let's do some rib cage rolling here. So feel free to just wag your tail, loosen up from what you just did. And then when you're ready, we'll do some rib cage rolling. Okay, so ribs all the way to one side, down toward the ground, over to the other side, up toward the sky. And see if you can articulate your rib cage and notice its connection to your vertebrae, your sternum, your collarbones. Your rib cage doesn't directly touch your collarbones, but they sure are, have an invested relationship with each other. Your rib cage doesn't articulate with your shoulder blades, but they sure do have a joint-like relationship to each other. Spin the other direction. Make sure you're breathing. All right, and then stretch back towards child's pose again. Walk the hands far out in front of you. And just enjoy. Breathe down the length of the back of your body. Come back up. Let's find a twist. Reach your arm up in the air. Exhale and slide that shoulder underneath. Full breath here. Notice the manipulation of your lungs, of your rib cage. Twisting has a whole different feel to it than the other postures on your spine and on your breath. And then inhale, bring that arm all the way back up, and let's change sides. Lifting the hand high, drop the shoulder down. A big full inhale, and exhale. All right, and then inhale, reach that arm back up in the air. Hand comes down onto the ground. Let's find a dog pose. All right, so let's pedal your feet, dropping one heel, dropping the other heel, kind of saying hello to your legs now. We've done a lot to invite awareness into our ribs and our spine, but let's now find it in our legs as well. Take your time with any kind of movement that you want to do to wake up and warm up. Notice your breath here. When you feel ready, walk your feet forward and come to Uttanasana. Feet are hip width apart, relax and fold. Let your neck soften, surrender, maybe a little shimmy in your hips, maybe a little bobbling in your head. Loosen things up. Inhale for a halfway lift. Gather some length in your spine, hands on blocks. Let's go ahead and pedal your feet here. And even though we may think, oh, our hamstrings have nothing to do with our breath, or our hips have nothing to do with our breath, yes, of course they do. Everywhere in our body is affected by and affects our breathing. So let's pedal your feet here. Move those hips around. Drop one hip way back. Feel the sensation in the bottom of your feet. Open up your calves. All right, and then relax and melt to full forward again. Make sure your neck feels at ease. Inhale, rise all the way up. Arms coming to the sky, feeling that extension. Let's cactus, open the arms, let the chest expand. Squeeze the back body a little bit, and then exhale and round in. Chin tucks, forearms touch, back body opens. Stretch up, let's open the front body again. Expanding open, pull those arms back, and then exhale, bring your arms forward. And let's do it one more time. Arms up, breathe in, and then as you exhale, breathe out into your tucked chin. And then relax your hands for a moment, give them a shake. A lot of our, freezing of our breath makes our shoulders and our neck and our rib cage and all these places kind of get stuck. So important to open them up. I'm going to use a strap behind my back because it helps my shoulder. But if you can interlace your hands behind your back, you can do this that way as well. Open up through your chest and then bend forward and let your arms leave your spine. So you want your hands to come away from your back, bobble your neck and open the fronts of your shoulders. Big breath here. And release your arms down. A halfway lift again. Melt to relax. And come all the way back up to stand. Let's do just a little bit of movement in our rib cage and twisting. So we're gonna just swing. And you can have your arms straight out to the sides like I'm doing, or maybe you like having your arms a little lower and kind of slump on your body. Okay, so you get to decide. But basically, we're just trying to get our rib cage to move in the twist, to get our spine to become supple and warm up into the twisting action. Breathe deeply. All right, and then relax. Shrug your shoulders up, back, and around a couple of times. And then we're going to take eagle arms. Okay, so cross one arm over the other, drop your shoulders, lift your elbows, and feel that stretch across the tops of the shoulders. Breathe deeply into the armpits, into the side bodies. And arms up, change sides, other arm on top. Remember, you can always cross your hands to your shoulders if you can't do this with your elbows. Find your breath. And then relax. And the last warming up we'll do for our breathing is to reach back behind you, grab your right wrist with your left hand, have a little bit of a tug, just a little bit of a tug, not so much that you're coming offline with your shoulders, and then lift your ear up toward the sky. And then maybe just have a little bit of movement of your chin. You can find a little flow that feels good as we stretch those scalene muscles on the side of our neck. These are really important muscles for breathing. They're called accessory muscles. So when we really have to rely on heavy breathing, like when we're running or working hard, these muscles lift our rib cage up and help expand the capacity for breath. But let's switch sides. Come to the other side. Grab your wrist, ear up, and then have a little movement. The trouble is that we end up using these muscles when we get into a fight or flight kind of vibe in our body when we don't really need to. And we get a lot of tension in our shoulders and neck just because we create tension and use these muscles unnecessarily when we're just relaxed, or maybe not relaxed, but when we're not breathing hard. Okay, so let's know those muscles a little bit. Okay, relax your arms, touch your teeth, lift your chin up toward the sky, stretch through the front of your collarbones, your throat, your trachea itself. And then exhale and drop your chin toward your chest. Take your hands to the base of your skull, palms or fingers are interlaced, and then we're just gonna bend our knees and roll our spine down a little bit. As you come into a forward fold, chin draws toward your chest, opening that back wide. And then relax your arms, give your body a little shake here. Inhale for a halfway lift, opening up through the spine. Exhale, melt. Come back to a dog pose. Okay. Lengthen through your spine here. Notice your legs again. Oh my gosh, there's so much room to breathe. So take advantage. Maybe even take your feet wide so you notice how when your pelvis is a little broader, the breath changes. Come forward into a plank. Hold yourself steady here. Now having a little energy, a little strength. Breathe all the way into the full rim of your rib cage. Put your feet onto the ground. Find your belly coming down to the ground. Inhale, cobra pose, and open front spine. Exhale, melting back down. Repeat, rising up on the breath in. Exhaling on the breath out. Okay, come up onto all fours. Wag your spine around a little bit again. Let's take our right foot in front. Come to a lunge. Stretch open through the hip flexor of that back leg. Okay. Inhale and lift that left arm up to the sky, open the ribs, open the belly, open your side waist, maybe a little arcing over so you just get lots of room. Remember that your psoas muscle attaches in the same places as your diaphragm. So give it some space, stretch it out a little bit, and then let's take the forearm to the knee and find a twist here. Other hand, right hand on your thigh to push down to help you open up your spine and twist. Keep hugging to the midline with your legs and bring a fullness to your breath. Coming back down, two hands on the blocks, and then let's switch sides. Okay, left leg comes in front. Come to a lunge with your back knee down onto the ground, opening up those hip flexors. Big breath here. Find some roots with your legs. When you feel ready, lift your right arm up. Your left hand can be on a block or on your leg. Feel that extension, open up, and then maybe a little arcing up and over. Breathing deeply. As you reach that right arm up to the corner of the, up, think about the ceiling on the left side of your room. Reach your arm to there. And then twist. Forearm comes to your knee. Other hand on your thigh to help you lift the spine. Find your legs, press them down, find the midline, and then find your breath. Enjoy. It's probably some little nook and cranny you're finding here. And relax to come out of that pose. Find dog pose one more time. Stretch through your calves, breathing deeply. We're going to walk our feet forward and turn sideways on your mat for a deep, low squat. Just getting into the inner thighs, letting the pelvic floor open. All right, coming on up to stand. Okay, so notice we've touched lots of bits of our body now. So just notice, do you feel better? Even just doing some gentle yoga for I don't know, half hour or so. How do you feel? Is it improving your state of mind, your state of body, your state of breath? All right, so now we're gonna get into our breathing a little bit more fully. So you'll need all the usual props plus this little ball. So let's start with the ball. We're gonna start with this under our sacrum. Okay, so we're gonna find a low bridge. So the ball is what's gonna come underneath our sacrum, and of course, you can use block instead if you prefer. What's nice, I mean, there's a lot that's good about the ball because it's not so solid. We really can notice how much stability or lack thereof we have in our pelvis. Just take a moment and let your body kind of sink on the ball, okay? And feel free to recognize that you're not still, okay? We're not trying to guard ourselves to the place where we're immobilized. Just see what you can do to find a gentle sense of balance and let your breath come in deeply and fully. Sometimes I like to breathe out through pursed lips. It helps me slow my breath down. Sometimes I like to do it through my nose, so just kind of find what feels good, but make sure your inhales are coming in through your nose, regardless of whether your exhales are through your mouth or your nose. Find your relationship to your pelvic floor, your deep belly. Notice how much movement there is when you breathe well beyond your rib cage. Try to unlock the breath in your abdomen. So, of course, our breath is not actually going to our belly, but what's happening is all those organs are getting
displaced by the diaphragm. So the more mobility we have in our viscera, the more our diaphragm can move, letting more breath in. So let your belly rise and fall. Feel your side waist kind of billow out. You can even feel your pelvic floor billow out, your sacrum get wider. Just sense into whatever movement you can find. Relax your head. All right, we're gonna pick up the ball, get it out from underneath there, and roll over onto your right side. And you can adjust the inflation level of this ball depending on what your body wants today. Sometimes a little more full, sometimes a little less full. Have a block under your head so that you're supported. Bend your knees. A hand on your hip if you'd like, or hand in front of you, whichever feels more stable. And first, we're just gonna rock on this ball. Think of giving your rib cage a little bit of a massage. So we're kind of rolling back and forth on the ball. And then pause here for a moment. Just be still. Fill up your breath. Empty it all out. If it's helpful to you to put your hands on your high ribs so you have somewhere to reach into, you can kind of expand those upper rib cage right at your like nipple lines, armpit lines. See if you can open up there. You can hold it for a moment if you like before exhaling. And when you exhale, a complete exhale, like you can use that hand now to kind of compress the rib cage. So if that's helpful to you to have that feedback loop of the hands on the ribs, by all means, do a couple rounds of that. Otherwise, just keep your arm down. Make sure your head and neck are relaxed and you're just giving yourself the medicine of good breathing. Try to stay with it. So keep your mind focused on the sensations of your body, of your breath. Okay. Now we'll move down to the second half of our rib cage. So first we were up higher, now we're down lower. So as if you were bifurcating your rib cage in two, we're now on the lower half. You can do the same thing with your hand on your rib cage, kind of matching what's happening on the right side with the left hand on your left. Big breath in, hold a moment, feel the rib cage expand, and as you exhale, melt fully. Try to connect the two sides of your rib cage. You can do a couple rounds like that, or you can just have your hand on your hip or on the floor or on your side. Feel free to make noise, whatever's naturally coming. A lot of times, I don't know why, but when I do this variation, a lot of times I want to breathe out through my mouth with a long sigh. And make some noise, but maybe that's not intuitively happening to you. Just follow, you're all by yourself, probably in your house, in your bedroom or your living room, so make as much noise as you want. All right, and then let's roll while we breathe. Feel free, keep breathing, but feel free to move on the ball a little bit. So we're just giving those lower ribs a little bit of a massage. This is getting into our liver. This is getting into our diaphragm. There's a lot that's happening in this area of your body. All right. Now we're gonna move the ball into our side waist. Okay, so sometimes you need it to be a little more deflated for underneath your side waist. So of course you can adjust. I'm gonna deflate mine a little bit more and just kind of find what's right for each part of the body. Okay. So as you come into that sideways, remember your psoas is such a integral muscle of relating to your diaphragm. And it's also, so let's do our rolling here. So as we put the ball in there sideways, we just kind of rock and roll on it. So we're kind of getting into the deep low back muscles, the quadratus lumborum, as well as the obliques and some of that viscera. You know, you can feel a lot going on here. Your psoas will be impacted by this. And when we sense our psoas relaxing, this, remember, your psoas is absolutely one of the key muscles of your flight, fight, fake, fawn, freeze response. No matter what your response to activation of your sympathetic nervous system, your psoas is gonna light up. So if we can kind of connect with our psoas and tell it everything's okay, then it can be helpful in assisting the diaphragm to not feel like it has to be prepared for fight or flight. Now be still and breathe. Make sure your head is very supported and heavy. All right, now before we do the second side, we're gonna come and put this right here in our psoas, kind of like in the front of your right hip. We're gonna bring that ball on into that area. We're coming onto our belly and we're gonna bring our right knee out to the side a little bit. And the ball is gonna kind of be in that pocket of the hip flexors. And just allow yourself to breathe. You can also do it if you have a bolster. I don't know how many of you have a bolster. You can do this by lying your belly on a bolster too, so your knee can kind of hang off. That's a nice way of doing it as well. So find a place of comfort and just let the ball give the psoas a little bit of feedback. Sometimes it's hard to know exactly where you want to put the ball, and my suggestion to you would be to just experiment. Try the ball in different places, try it at different inflations, and just see, oh, that makes me breathe well. All right, we're gonna come out of there now, and we're gonna go right to the other side of the psoas. We're gonna go back through this backwards, at least for the psoas. So now we'll come and put the ball underneath our left psoas. So I'm kind of, if you're not sure, I'm like this, and the ball is kind of right there. Okay, so experiment with where you want it to be. Never assume your two hips are the same. Allow your body to breathe. Let's come out of there. We're gonna come lie on our left side now. So as you get yourself situated to lie on your left side, we are gonna stop at the top, start at the top and work our way down instead of bottom up. Alright, so ball is under the top half of your rib cage. Get comfortable, so just kind of find your way, knees are bent. And then if you want to put your hand on your rib cage high, to have that feeling of a hoop expanding, hold, and then release. You can do that a couple of times where you're really feeling that expansion and holding the in-breath for a moment. And then compressing and let the ball be received into your lungs. So you can do a few rounds of that, or just now bring your hand to your side waist or in front of you on the ground, whatever feels good. Remember to support your head and with a block. And also, if you're not comfortable lying on a shoulder, you can kind of slide your arm forward a little bit so you're not directly on your shoulder. Between the ball and the block, you should have very little weight on your shoulder. Try to move your diaphragm well. Breathe deeply. I've done this before with a pillow between my knees down to my ankles. And that's a nice way also of adding yet another prop into this position to give you some balance in your hips as well as some space in your pelvis. All right, now let's roll a little bit forward and back. Forward and back. When's the last time you gave your rib cage this much love? You know, it's easy to, I don't know, stretch our hamstrings and stretch our quads and, you know, kind of get a massage and get your back massaged and your legs massaged, but it, you know, it's something very unique to give your lungs a little bit of a massage. Now we're gonna come to the second half of our rib cage, put the ball there. And again, experiment with how inflated, deflated you want the ball to be. Let's start with some rolling before we do the hold breath. So just a little bit of rolling forward and back. So you can just feel the mobility. You know, these ribs of ours are so flexible. There are most bendy green ribs in our body. So let's enjoy how much movement our rib cage has. It's kind of amazing when you think about bones having some play in them. I mean, all bones have a little play, but these have a lot. So let's enjoy that. Okay. And then adjust to a place where you're happy with where the ball is. Take your hand on your lower rib cage on the right side. Take a deep breath in, hold the breath. And then exhale all the way. And pay attention. How does this side feel versus the other side as you do this breath work? After a couple rounds of the hold, if you want to just be still and breathe. Notice the organs in your body receiving this posture. Notice your diaphragm. So you're compressing, you know, there's a release of the diaphragm in this pose. So let's enjoy what that feels like. Heavy head, relax your limbs. All right, and then bring the ball last stop under your side waist, and we'll go back and forth with a little bit of rolling. And remember, you know, you might want more or less deflation. And as your side waist receives this ball, a little bit rocking forward, rocking backward, sense into your obliques. The obliques are part of your breathing for sure. Your diaphragm, all those intercostal muscles, all the muscles in your abdomen. Your psoas, the deepest one of them. All right, and then let's be still. Be still and breathe. You can do the billowing out of your side waist if you'd like, and hold that inhale and then melt. Notice your back. Your deep low back muscles might be receiving this pose well. There's a muscle on the inner rim of your hip, your iliacus. It joins up with the psoas. For sure, you're feeling hopefully that muscle now too. All right. And then relax. And come to sit. Grab a block to sit on, maybe Virasana, maybe Sukhasana, whatever feels good. And just take a moment to experience what you just did. You can have a little bit of a seated cat-cow if you'd like. You can wiggle around. And then just notice your rib cage, your belly, your back, your sternum, your diaphragm, even those intercostal muscles and the scalene muscles up in your neck. Just try to pay attention. Relax your shoulders, wobble your head a little bit. Let's try to keep the accessory muscles from doing the work. Let the diaphragm do the work, and we're just going to do some equal parts breathing. So make sure your seated posture is comfortable. You can be in Sukhasana with your legs crossed, or you can be in Virasana. Okay. So as you come into this posture of, make sure you're comfortable. Feel the rising of your spine. Open your heart. And I want you to count for yourself. It's nice when somebody counts for you, but really, truly, I want you to get used to doing this yourself. So instead of me counting to 4, 5, or 6, you count to 4, 5, or 6 inside your head. And then whatever your pace, find that same metronome pacing on your exhale and do an equal part breath. So you can start out with breathing in for 4 and breathing out for 4. And we're not doing any breath holds today. We're just having equal parts breath, Samavriti. You could expand after a couple of rounds to maybe 5 or 6 counts. Remember that as we elongate our breathing, we're trying to have just that sweet balance of not straining, overfilling the tank, or straining our breath. Our pranayama never should be strained. The inhale equals the exhale. If you naturally are feeling the urge to lengthen the exhales, we're going to do that in just a moment. I think that's a good sign. If you're having to kind of shrink up your exhales to match your inhales, this means that your parasympathetic nervous system is already online. So just equal balance the breath, slow down those inhales. Allow yourself to exhale 2 beats longer than your inhale. Okay, so no longer equal balanced breath, but just a slightly longer exhale. So maybe you're breathing in through 6, out through 8, or in through 5 and out through 7, or 4 and 6, or whatever your counts are. Relax your shoulders, soften the muscles in your neck, release your jaw and your eyes, make way in your sinuses, enjoy the movement of your diaphragm and the expansive movement of your rib cage. Melt your skull. Let your brain receive the ease. Relax the palms of your hands. You are ready for Shavasana. You can stop at the end of an exhale and find your way down to the ground. If you're really happy here and want to keep doing this breath, this can be your Shavasana. As you find your way onto your back, or maybe you're gonna rest on your side or put your legs up the wall or whatever, it feels good. Remember to get warm, to turn bright lights off, to have enough support. As you lie down, if you know, that breathing, we cooled ourselves down in the sense that we really, dropped our heart rate and our blood pressure and got into a very parasympathetic state. So this can drop your body temperature down. So covering yourself with a blanket can be very nice. All right, so take a moment to find your new position if you have one and melt. And to your breath again. In through your nose, out through your nose or your mouth. Nice and long exhales.
Bring your awareness to your body. Drop your limbs one more time. Invite some movement. Breathing in, breathing out, moving your limbs a little bit. Eventually finding your way to your side. Take a moment curled on your side to just rest and notice your nervous system. Are you more at ease? Gently push yourself up to a comfortable seat. When you find your seat, notice your body, notice your nervous system, notice your mind, notice your breath. How do you feel different? Are you more relaxed? Are you calmer? Do you feel more present, more grounded? Are any of these things available to you? Whatever the merits of your practice, let's share this energy. Send your energy to another. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.